Okay, I'm here with Ola. What is your last name, Ola?
Helenius.
That is a really quite a peculiar one.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound particularly Swedish.
Well, it's Swedish and maybe some Finnish roots in it.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
So what is your profession?
I'm a mathematician.
Okay. But you're also the designer of the new simmer boards.
Yeah.
So how do those two things go together?
It's been a hobby with boards for like 20 years.
Okay.
Not really since I started windsurfing, but soon thereafter I started to think about boards and how do they really work. And I did some boards myself, but also over the years I like measured probably like 100 boards. Every board I rode, I tried to measure it, and I developed my own program for analyzing curves of the boards and try to really understand what is it in a board that makes it work. So I didn't really shape so many boards during those years, but I did some virtual shapes, so to say, that never materialized, and then I got really understanding about those two things, you know.
So what is it that really works, that makes a board good?
It's that's difficult to say, because I'm not a believer in the perfect board. That's some shapers like seek for the perfect board for everybody, but I like variety. So for me, what's interesting is to know how to design a board that solves a certain problem. You know, that's something specific. So and then you have to, because every board also has to have some all-round qualities.
Yep.
So therefore you have to combine. If you, for example, choose from the beginning, oh, this board needs a bit flatter rocker because certain things, then you have to change the other variables in the board to still get that reasonable all-round, you know, quality as a whole. But what maybe is a little bit different. Every shaper thinks in a different way.
Of course.
For me, it's about connecting that feel, you know, the actual feel in the water with the geometry of the board. You have to have some idea yourself. How do these things really work? What aspects of the ride are affected? What certain aspects of the geometry of the board? And I spent some time interviewing some of the best shapers and really tried to understand what they think. And as I see it, each of them have their own theory. I would call it a theory, but it's not like physics really. It's more heuristics.
Yeah.
And I have my own. And what maybe is a little bit different is that with my mathematical background, I can think of the curves and surfaces on the board in a slightly different way. So I think a lot of the curvatures and the whole areas, not so much just the different curves, and I can visualize this really nicely in my program. So when I ride the board and then measure it and maybe ride it again and spend time thinking about how did it feel to ride it, then each time I learn something more about those two things, how they connect.
So do you have a kind of a simulator on the computer that shows how the shape would work in the water?
No. So I'm just, in that sense, I'm just as sort of, let's say, heuristical as anybody.
Yes.
So I don't use any flow theory or nothing like that. Just something from physics, because if you know some physics, you will incorporate it. But,
of course.
But it's more. I also spent lots of time writing about boards and you know, explaining to others when I work with starboards and about other boards too. And I think this really helps also, because, you know, language and cognition, how you think about stuff, it's so closely connected. So every time when I write about a board, I go back to my own experience. I never write the same stuff twice. I always go back to my experience, think about how did it work, how did it feel, and then try to put this in words. And every time you do that, you work on your language of describing and also your language of understanding the board. So it's, I mean, it's an interesting thing, this with experience. I wouldn't call myself an experienced shaper, because, I mean, maybe I did like 50 or maybe 70 boards in total, and that's not so much. But I would say that I am quite good at actually experiencing the shape
and explaining it too. I can tell, because
experiencing it myself, you know.
Yeah.
And then then also connected to the geometry.
I think the analytical mind helps a lot.
Analytical, so it's so most of my shaping experience has come through trying to understand other boards rather than building them myself. But in the last few years I've built some more boards. So and of course that's also good to be able to test your ideas.
For sure, that is very interesting. We got a kid there. And the daughter too. All right. So you got also time to build a beautiful family, looks like.
Yeah, for sure.
What was I going to ask? What is the sizes you're going to have as a first release on the Simmer line?
We're going to do 2 quad lines.
Okay.
One more, I think of them as a groundswell oriented board.
All right.
And a windswell oriented board, because I don't really like this radical or non-radical or Euro or Maui.
Yeah.
But you can think of them as a Maui board and a Euro board if you like. So these are both quads. And now we have a 75 and an 84 in both of them. But the windswell boards are much bigger for their size, so to say, bigger for the volume, wider, and we're going to ride bigger. And we may also now in the last minutes add a 92 liter for the groundswell oriented.
92 you said?
Yeah, something
cool.
like that.
Very
a
cool.
big one for the big guys.
Yeah. Or for the people that will sail in very light wind, you never know. Yeah.
But then later maybe we'll add we have a 70 ready, 70 for the groundswell lineup. And we may need to add something bigger for the groundswell lineup, you know.
Okay.
So it depends, but we're gonna start small because it's, you know, we don't want to take a too big a bite.
Yeah.
Swallow, you know.
For sure.
And then a freestyle wave line, which is really exciting also.
Cool.
Which may be probably a combination of a thruster and single. So we have some specific rockers that because I always had some problems getting three-fin design to work really well, but we tried to make a special rocker that are really designed for that, designed to be in some sense faster and better as a single, but then also really good as a tri-fin. So.
And time-wise, when you have an idea when this board is going to be available to the general public?
I think it would be like, I mean, it would be 2012 models. So in practice, like they will start to appear in, early autumn.
Early autumn 2012.
2011.
11. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So there would be some samples floating around earlier.
Nice.
And
Well, congratulations. I mean, this I really wanted to take this little interview because your stories definitely could make a big chapter of the Everything is Possible series, I would say.
I mean, it's amazing for me. I never dreamed to become a sort of professional shaper. It has been like a hobby, but I did spend a huge amount of time working on it.
And passion, yeah?
Yeah. So probably when I took my PhD, you know, you have a lot of, I wouldn't say free time, but your time is free to plan for yourself. And I probably spent like at least a third of that time just working on the computer program for the boards and you know.
Yeah.
So my advisor maybe wasn't so happy about that, but in the end I did my math up too, so it's.
I think every time you put some heart and passion in something, you will get it back somehow. You know, it's.
And also that thing you talked about with you know how every person has his own theory. That's also something I work with now in mathematics and mathematics education. You know, this connection, this tacit knowledge. You know, it's hard to formulate things. You have some ideas, but how do you formulate it? And I think most shapers they have some. If you're a good shaper, then you have this idea, but maybe you can't just put it in words, but you have it inside you.
Yeah.
So these things is also really interesting.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Okay.
And we'll see your board soon.
We will.
And now, I think we gotta go do that because it's blowing and it's nice. See you later, Ola.
Bye.